Hello my friends and welcome back. Happy Monday to you. It's the beginning of the new week and you and me, we're gonna survive this week. We begin with a story from Lithuania. I'm sure you all heard about it. It's going on for 4 days now. United States troops fell into a bog or a marsh. They drove into it with their armored vehicle during a training exercise. And there have been 4 days of non-stop work by the United States troops and Lithuanian defense forces in cooperation to retrieve the vehicle and the bodies. And it's a real compliment to the cooperation between US and Lithuania. I will let Major General Curtis Taylor to speak about it here for 30 seconds, because I think the aftermath and the reaction to this incident is really what unites us too.
This is Major General Kurt Taylor. I'm the Commanding General of the 1st Armored Division and the soldiers here on site. I want to say most of all that I am just awestruck by the commitment and dedication of the Lithuanian partners who are out here. We're on day 5 right now of this search and recovery operation. They have been with us from the start. We have people operating heavy equipment out here that have been on and off, on the ground, working through the night, through the day, with incredible discipline.
Okay, I'm going to stop it here to respect your time, but there's plenty of footage about it, and it might say, okay, how can they actually fall into the bog? Some people were suspecting of actually Belarusian sabotage because it was close to the border, but the truth is Estonian, Latvian and Lithuanian marshes and bogs, they can be very dangerous for armored vehicles, heavy vehicles, even light vehicles. Usually you traverse this kind of land with your bare feet, and even then you gotta be really careful. And I want to read you a thread by actually Ilja, who is actually editing these videos. He made a very clear, short comment about it, what can go wrong when traversing these bogs. I'll read it to you. I'm afraid that the American soldiers may not have fully understood the specific features of the local terrain. In the Baltic countries, swamps cover the vast areas, and local defense forces are trained to use this to their tactical advantage. To this day, we still recover German and Soviet military equipment from World War II buried in the swamps. The local military uses swamps in defense as effectively as the Finns use snow and freezing temperatures. Unfortunately, the US soldiers were likely not well informed about these conditions. Whether they got lost or simply tried to take a shortcut through the forest, it ended in tragedy. My condolences go out to the families and friends, and I stand by these words. The thing is, Estonian, Latvian, Lithuanian swamps and bogs are, I would still say, one of the biggest strengths we have, because they are untraversable with heavy vehicles. With the typical Russian assault we see in Ukraine, this kind of assault could not work through our Baltic swamps because it would swallow everything, and it has, and it will in the future. And unfortunately, we saw it do that to American troops now also. And I'm really sorry, my condolences to the families, but this demonstrates perfectly how difficult it is to operate with conventional military, armored vehicles in a swampy terrain. And this is where our battlefield is, in the Baltics. All right, my friends, now I gotta let you in on a little secret. Check out this video, United States versus China, the battle over Panama Canal, in-depth analysis. This is a new members-only video. Just join this channel membership, click the link in the description below. It is the cheapest it can be in YouTube. It's only 99 cents. Check it out. Boom, early access. You get 4 extra videos per every month. They are in-depth analysis into a specific topic connected to Ukrainian war or everything geopolitical in the world. So do that and you get an extra video every week. Also, I got a Butchers and Buy Me a Coffee member, since they have made it possible for me to do what I do. Art van Vestrienen, Ulf Söder, Mark, Andres Opp. Kinda could be an Estonian name, I don't know. Last time we got the first ever Estonian on this channel. I'm so glad. Andres Opp. Let me know in the comments if you are Estonian or not. Misty Summers. Thank you to these 5 people. If you like my channel, buy me a coffee, link is in the description below. Sign up and I'll be butchering your name into oblivion, into the orbit. All right, my friends, we have United States flexing its muscles to Yemen, to the Houthi rebels. I mean, I've been staying away from this topic for a little bit, but now so much information is screaming everywhere about it. I gotta report it. 6 United States Air Force B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, that's 1/3 of the entire America's B-2's fleet, is forward deployed into Diego Garcia over the last week. Now, Diego Garcia has a very wide range around it of different countries. If you have the B-2s there, it's a massive forward projection of United States military power, whatever you want to call it, naval, aviation, just military force projection, American power projection. Diego Garcia is perfect for it. Also, the Harry S. Truman Carrier Strike Group continues to strike operations against the Houthis. And you can see where they are. They're at the Red Sea. And there are plenty of targets. If I click on the next link here, we actually can see the list of targets and them on the map also. It's very unsurprisingly, these strikes are public. No thanks to the Signalgate disaster that we found out about these strikes before they happened because, you know, somebody decided to just share all of the information in Signal. I'm not here to talk about that. That's a massive intelligence and OPSEC plunder by the United States presidential administration. But here it is, the Houthi strikes operation by United States naval and air forces. They have made at least 158 precision air and naval strikes targeting Houthi infrastructure and leaderships, and mostly by Reapers, Tomahawks, and of course the F-18 Hornets. I'm not going to go more in depth, you just know it's here, it's happening, and Trump is doubling down on this. And if you want to look further into which targets are struck, everything is here. Click the link in the description. You'll see all the locations of the United States vessels. You see all the targets. Everything is there. Now we go a little bit wider. It's not United States versus the Houthis, because the Houthis are semi-proxy of Iran. It's the United States versus Iran. And why is there an issue? Well, because now Iran is flexing their muscle. They threatened the United States. What they did is say that if you continue to strike the Houthis and if you strike our nuclear facilities, we will strike your base in Diego Garcia, the base I just mentioned that has now 1/3 of the entire United States B-2 bomber fleet present there. It's 2,000 miles away from the Iranian homeland, Iranian country, but they do have the drones and missiles that can fly that far. And it's a very serious threat because, I mean, it's the B-2s. If they're grounded there and any kind of booming kabooms are happening there, they're one of the most expensive planes US has ever had. So it's a very serious threat. So what it is right now is Trump threatening Iran to strike their nuclear program pretty much if they don't step into the deal with the US, and Iran threatening US and Trump to strike the Diego Garcia and the B-2 bombers. It's very primitive, threats against threats. Now it's yet to see who follows through. And just let's take a quick look on the Iranian nuclear program so you know where we are at. Because they're supposed to have a civilian nuclear program, only for electricity production, but it's not that. Let's go through it very fast. Enrichment levels of uranium, 3 to 5% civilian nuclear power, 20% research and medical isotopes, 60% near weapons grade, 90% needed for a bomb. Iran is right now at 60%. And it's not that primitive that there's 60, oh, there's some time to go to 90. No, because it takes about going from 60% to 90% is much faster than going from 0% to 20%. And supposedly, with advanced centrifuges, Iran could hit bomb grade 90% uranium in weeks or even days. So it's very, very close. And Trump is pressuring them, making the threats, striking at Houthi rebels in Yemen, but he has not yet ordered any strikes against the Iran homeland. But how fast would it be for Iran to actually get a nuclear bomb? Well, could be a month to a year, but they're moving towards that. The point is they're making threats right now. Trump wants to get them on the table with a nuclear deal. Iran wants a nuclear weapon, and there's Israel who just is waiting to bomb Iran to the Stone Age. Things are going to get very tense. All right, enough of that, my friends. We're going to go into topic that I would conclude as Trump/Musk. And there's so much going on here. First of all, major breaking news today. Trump and Elon announced $6 trillion in new tariffs. $6 trillion, what is it? Like $6,000 billion. Holy hell. You know who's going to pay for this? Tariffs are paid by the United States consumer. They're not paid by the foreign entities or companies who export to the US. They're paid by the United States consumer who buys the product, which is usually the middle or lower class person in the US. So this is basically an announcement of $6 trillion price hike for the next how many years he wants to do that, but it's really bad. And just to illustrate one aspect of how bad things are going to be with these tariffs, because I don't believe in isolationism, I don't believe in tariffs that they would bring strength to any country. I believe that strength of a country is connected to their economic openness to other countries and friends and allies, and Trump goes the opposite way. So just to illustrate how bad things are going to be, this is the auto industry president of the United States, and he knows what he's talking about because he's the president of the auto industry.
Everybody in the business knows what's going to happen.
Which is?
We're going to have a shutdown. And we're going to have a shutdown. I say a week. Some people are saying 2 weeks. Okay, what's the difference? And when you have a shutdown, you know, I just came back from Washington earlier this week, meeting with congressional reps in Alabama and Tennessee. And all I said to them was, forget Oakville and Woodstock and Oshawa. In Birmingham, for example, there's 1,300 jobs from a Canadian supplier here. If you let the president take open shots at Canada and they succeed, you have a problem. And by the way, the rest of Birmingham is full of suppliers, 5,000 to 7,000 employees that supply into Mercedes production, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, so these foreign suppliers in the US, if Trump attacks their allies, I mean, we see how Europeans and Canadians already react to Teslas, for example. I mean, people will react like that to anything American if they're attacked. You push people, they push back. The thing is, yeah, Mercedes is a supplier and creator of jobs in Birmingham, like he mentioned. Just one example, there's a Canadian supplier for 1,300 jobs in that area. This affects these jobs, these salaries, these American people who actually go and work and earn that wage. This is Trump's decision. It's not Mercedes or Canadian decision. This is Trump doing that, taking away from hard-working American middle class. This is how I see it. So instead of Trump trying to annex a part of the allies, you know, part of Denmark is Greenland. They're trying to move towards independence. It's going to happen in the future, but right now they're still under Denmark, so they are an ally of the US and part of NATO. Instead of Trump attacking a NATO country, a fellow ally, they should perhaps copy some other policies from Denmark, because they do work well in Denmark. Healthcare and colleges are free. And I know the comments already calling me a communist, because Americans love to call everything communist that is free healthcare and free education. Not a communist, my friend. I'm from Estonia. We hate the communists here. You cannot call me a communist. If I am from Estonia, my grandfather was deported by the communists when he was 4 years old. Nothing to do with communism. Healthcare and education is free. The starting wage is $22 per hour. Paid parental leave is 1 year. I'll say that again, guys, you know, check it out. Paid parental leave, 12 months. By the way, in Estonia, it's 18 months. You get a baby for 18 months, the country will pay your wage for you to be home with your baby and take care of it. How much is it in America in different states? I would like to know. Please leave it in the comments. Paid vacation is 6 weeks, and all workers get pensions. I stand by all of these policies, actually. And I do already see that, oh, you're a communist. I never thought you're a communist. Commie bastard, unsubscribe. What can I say, my friends? We here in Estonia, we know what communism is because we have fought it for the last century. Ever since it started existing, we started fighting it. We know exactly what it is. We have been occupied by them. It's not communism. It is just a higher standard of living. And yes, wait, it's free. Doctors, nurses, and college professors work for zero. Yeah, I know, we pay it with our taxes. I'm trying to anticipate all of the comments that are gonna, yeah, I know, I pay the taxes and taxes are higher and all of that stuff. We have less billionaires. That's the whole point. Less billionaires. Take from the rich, give it to the lower and middle classes. Oh my God, I just signed up for the massive call out of Eurocommun. Okay, I'll shut up now. The number of people that go bankrupt every year from medical bills, well, it's zero in every country because you don't gotta pay them. But United States, 326,000 people. I see these videos of, women going to give birth and something goes wrong. Some things happen. Sometimes you gotta be in the hospital for longer, maybe for a week. They're just gonna check you and the baby, everything is fine. You get home, but then you get the bill. And I've seen these videos, they go into hundreds of thousands sometimes. And that is insane. If your insurance doesn't cover that, you just broke for the rest of your life. All right, I'll end that topic here. Get it all out of your system. Put it all in the comments. I'll read it. I'll read it all, even the bad ones. Now we go to the UK. I just want to illustrate how the European people actually feel about fascism. We don't like that. We don't like communism or fascism here. And in the UK subway, you can see the Third Reich right here, led by Elon, or the Inglorious bad turds. Wonderful. The movie was wonderful, the Inglorious Bastards, but they are inglorious bad turds, Elon and his fascist ideals. By the way, I mean, Trump and Elon with the Doge, they're focusing on fraud and increasing the effectiveness of the government, effectiveness of spending of taxpayer money. When Trump is talking about making Doge and making taxpayer money spent more effectively, how can he spend so much time golfing all the time and flying there with his Air Force choppers and Air Force One? I mean, we all know the flight hour cost of that behemoth. And it's like 38% of his presidency is spent at his results, mostly golfing, burning through $85 million taxpayer cash. So in my eyes, if you want to start spending taxpayer money more efficiently, start with yourself. Start changing the world from yourself. So show with attitude and changes in your life. This is how people will understand the point. But no, they're going to cut social spending to people who actually rely on it and still golf like 40% of the presidency. I cannot agree to that. I cannot justify in any sense. I don't like it, and I think he's a hypocrite. Just to illustrate the point even more, here we have, and I hate to say it, but I must, President Musk walking into Air Force One. I think it's Air Force One. Anyway, this plane and all of these dudes with the sunglasses here, they have their hourly rates. They're very high. The captain here, Elon's nice lady friend here, all of that money comes from American taxpayers' pocket, mostly from the most of millions who are from the middle class, whose life is going to get worse because of tariffs and because of Doge, let's be honest. So I cannot watch this happen. It's painful. Painful to watch President Musk walk into that plane. Now, we saw recently something that really, again, hurt me. Every time I see Trump do something, I just feel physical pain in my body. Check it out. The United States no longer demands Syria to vacate Russian military bases. Syrian authorities have received a new list of demands from the US to ease the sanctions on the regime. Unlike the Biden administration, the new US administration is no longer insisting on the withdrawal of Russian troops from the bases in Tartus and Khmeimim. So, basically, if you want us to lift the sanctions, you gotta get rid of the Russian troops. This is what at least Biden administration was saying to the Syrians. Well, now Trump is just giving away leverage. America had massive leverage over Russia. Trump is just giving it away for free. Just throwing it away, just like that. Throwing away all leverage and influence they have over the Russians. I don't know why he does it. I cannot understand it, but here it is. And now we see Putin openly making these public statements, openly mocking and humiliating Trump, because Trump is going all over the world stating that, yeah, we made a deal with Putin, the ceasefire holds. J.D. Vance is saying, oh, the ceasefire is holding, we made progress. What is Putin saying? You know, these are people in Russia, 150, 140 million, whatever, how many, they are seeing Trump and Vance say these things. Oh, they're making success with our country. And then Putin comes out with this. Basically, Putin has withdrawn from all negotiations. Putin is preparing for a summer military campaign, and he believes he can significantly improve Russia's military position. Putin is not going to end the war, is all his words. Putin does not believe that Trump will make him stop and push Russia out of the oil market. So basically, he's calling Trump's bluff immediately and saying, you're a weak man, I don't believe you, go and play your games and say to everybody that you made a deal and you made some success, but we will do what we want. Putin's statements yesterday about how he will crush Ukraine and put it under external governance under the UN management are his new fantasies. Russia will soon be spreading the narrative that the Ukrainian government is illegitimate and that it does not control the army. Also, the narrative that Ukraine is a terrorist country is being spread. The point is, Putin openly says the opposite what Trump is saying, and Trump is claiming that he has a good relationship with Putin and they have a mutual understanding, while Putin is humiliating Trump publicly. It's painful to see. It's painful to see how the leader of the most powerful country in the world has no idea how to communicate or negotiate with Russians. And unfortunately, he doesn't want to listen to, because there's many nations in the world who know exactly how to do that. Take Finland or the Baltics or Polish or even the Ukrainians. But doesn't listen to us for some reason. But there is hope, because maybe Trump is beginning to see the light. Who knows? You know what I would put my money on? Trump is quite stupid, but he's an egoist. And with the egoists, you can piss them off. And if they're pissed off, they might do some impulsive stuff. And that's the last hope I have for Trump, that at some point he's going to get a glimpse of light and understand that Putin is dragging his feet with the negotiations, just buying time and playing with Trump and humiliating him. At that moment, Trump might just get angry and do something very impulsive to hurt the Russians. That's good, at least. We get a glimpse of that. I mean, check it out, check it out.
Hours ago, President Trump called me to tell me he is, quote, pissed off with Russia's President Putin and threatened to impose secondary tariffs on Russia's oil. Quote, if Russia and I are unable to make a deal on stopping the bloodshed in Ukraine, and if I think it was Russia's fault, which it might not be, but if I think it was Russia's fault, I am going to put secondary tariffs on all oil.
Trump is such a 12-year-old kid. I can't. I mean,
coming out of Russia. Mr. Trump said 25% tariffs on Russian oil could happen any moment and told me he plans to speak with President Putin this week. The president told me, quote, I was very angry.
Trump is a dumbass. Of course, Putin is playing him. He's like getting a glimpse. Oh, maybe he's dragging his... Wake up, Mr. Trump. He has no idea. He has a rude awakening coming to him. If he really awakens from that illusion that, wow, I've been played with for the last 2 months by Putin, I do hope he gets mad. I do hope he gets very mad and very insulted by that and reacts very impulsively towards Russia. That's my only and last hope to Trump. Otherwise, he's a moron. Talking about Trump with his other friends, I mean, people who's supposed to be his friends, not Putin, but Carney from Canada actually supposed to be friends, former ally now, not so much, unfortunately. Trump finally called Carney. And not Carney called Trump, but Trump called Carney. I mean, usually whenever Canada has a new prime minister, one of the first things in the agenda is to connect with the United States presidential administration. In this case, Carney has very openly said, no, F you guys, you don't respect our sovereignty as Canada, as a democracy. We're not going to call you, we're not going to contact you, we're not going to push back. But now, Trump contacted him and they spoke, and they both stated that it was a very productive conversation. The point is that Trump called him, connected him to him, and now he's suddenly saying they had a very good conversation. They're going to have more meetings and more talks about whatever he wants to talk about. The point is, everybody is calling Trump's bluff. No country has yet to submit to Trump's tariffs or threats. Greenland, with a population of 50,000, is very openly against the United States, who could just steamroll them. Nobody is going to submit to Trump. Nobody wants to be the slave like that. So everybody's calling him out, including Canada and Carney and Canadian people and Europe and everybody. Let's keep doing that. Don't let yourself to be pushed over. For example, Vance. went to Greenland. Before I even show it to you, I gotta show how Vance is applying Cheetos to President Trump's face, because, you know, I just imagine that's what's going on before anything happens in the press or public. This is how they do it. Check it out. Yeah, this is how I see these two guys. They're utter clowns. Total clowns, and it pains me to see, you know, one of my favorite countries in the world being led by two clowns like that. Add Elon to it, you get fascist clowns. All right, Vance arrived to Greenland, and they have this massive campaign of, you know, we're gonna annex Greenland. Check it out, I'm arriving to Greenland. Everybody love us there, and nobody came to greet them in Greenland, except for the United States Army personnel, of course, but no Greenlandish locals, Nook locals. How do you call the locals in Greenland? Greenlandish? Greenlanders? No Greenlanders came to say hello because they don't want them there. So then Vance decided to hold a very weak speech, but he made sure to apply a lot of eyeliner before, and he said that we must respect the president's wishes to annex this country. We must respect it. We don't have to respect it. Then Vance claimed something that will put him and Trump into very bad light because Putin is publicly making fun of them. Check it out.
On Russia, has the U.S. agreed to those conditions that the Kremlin said were needed for that truce in the Black Sea? It included lifting sanctions imposed on Russian banks. Trump said this week that you were still looking at it.
Well, there are a couple of different statements that are floating around out there, and some of them I think are mistranslations, and some of them are not totally clear what is even being asked for. But the president has said, and he's right, that I think we feel very good about where things are. We trust but verify. We make sure that what we're seeing from one party is met by the other party and vice versa. But I think that we've made an incredible amount of progress. We have to remember that this war started under Joe Biden's administration. It has led to an unbelievable amount of devastation. We'll keep you guys updated as energy infrastructure. We've got a Black Sea commercial ceasefire that I think is almost done. And once we get there, we'll work on the next stage of the ceasefire.
There's no ceasefire, nothing is holding. Bombardments have increased ever since the Trump and Putin spoke and agreed, you know, supposedly on a ceasefire. Putin has publicly demonstrated with words and with actions and with frontline military actions that he does not care and does not take Trump seriously. He will do what he wants. And Trump is so badly wanting to present some kind of steps to the home public, domestic public, that he's just faking. Look, we made steps, and then Putin does what he wants. And Trump claims some kind of forward steps that they made. Look, it's so bad. It's a disaster of public image. A disaster, honestly. Vance is claiming that the ceasefire is holding. There's no ceasefire. Nothing is holding. And 3 hours later, of course, Vance is leaving Greenland because they have nothing to do there. They actually went door to door, and Greenlanders, Nook, whatever you want. I'm sorry if I mispronounced. Greenlanders did not accept them. They didn't want to talk to them. They actually protested the United States Embassy. So Vance left 3 hours later. Well, good riddance. Don't come back, please. Now, my friends, we're going to go to Ukraine. And first of all, let's see how President Zelensky and the Ukrainians feel about all of what's going on. And we begin with the United States' new contract or agreement of the minerals, new mineral deal that Trump sent to Zelensky. And he has changed it up many times. Zelensky's team is trying to work on it, working with the previous one, and boom, Trump slaps him with a new one. Everything is changed up again. He's very impulsive. His administration's deals or proposals are very impulsive, and you cannot make consistent cooperation like that if you're so impulsive. Ukraine will not recognize United States military assistance as a debt, which it was not. It was not debt. Plus, majority of it was spent in the USA. Plus, my friends, do you know how expensive it is to decommission old weaponry in the US? It's quite expensive. Ukraine did that for free by destroying Russian weapons with that old weaponry. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. Destroying the US enemies with the weaponry that's supposed to be decommissioned, and the process would be very expensive. Let's just send it to the Ukraine. It's a gift. And most of it was spent in the US anyway, creating US jobs, yada yada. I've spoken about it so much. So it's not a debt in any way. An urgent meeting will be held in Kiev within a week in a narrow circle of representatives of the general staff of main countries. France and Britain will definitely be there, and they will talk about European troops in Ukraine. Because France and Britain, they're very serious about that stuff. Umerov, the defense minister, will hand over evidence of Russia's disruption of the ceasefire to America. Everybody knows and has seen them. There are Ukrainians who are now casualties because of Russian continuous bombardment. And Vance still has an idea that some kind of ceasefire is holding. I guess they are waiting for official evidence of the disruption of ceasefire. Just go look at all of the videos where bombs are landing in civilian areas. I mean, Ukraine announced that they are preparing to have a space force. Now, I know this sounds funny, a space force. They cannot even do their own budget. I mean, we're paying for them. I know, yeah. They're doing badly with their budget, and European Union and US are helping them with it, and Japan. But in the span of 10 years, Ukrainians have officially said that they do intend to send satellites up, to have their own military satellite system up there, because, you know, with the experience of US just pulling the aid like that, you want to do that. You know that you cannot rely on the US anymore, because anytime it can go. Before, we didn't think that in Europe. We thought it's there, it's the secure backing. We're going to push money into the US to get these security guarantees. But now that this was pulled, the rug was pulled under, Ukraine and Poland both, they want to go that way, to have their own military satellite system up there. And I'm glad. Talking about the mineral deal again, what Trump wants. Ukraine has a lot of lithium. One of the biggest lithium deposits is very close to the front line right now. Shevchenko area, it's a few clicks from the front. Russians are pushing to it. I mean, lithium is massively important to creating batteries. And China controls like, 70% of the entire world's lithium deposits. If US wants to counter that, it's not by enslaving Ukrainian people, by taking all the national deposits. It's by helping Ukraine stay free. And of course, Ukrainians would want to work with the countries who are responsible for their freedom, of course. But it's not by power you take it. It's by soft power. Soft power is strong and it works. It has worked perfectly for the US. And it worked, unfortunately, perfectly for Russia before 2022. If you start using hard power means, you're going to lose everything. If you start attacking your allies, if you start demanding Ukrainian minerals like that, it belongs to the Ukrainian people. But they do want to share it with the countries who help it. All right, my friends, to respect your time, I'm not going to go on. I have some more points, but you will get another video in Wednesday in 2 days. Again, if you want an extra video every Saturday, members get an early access. Just join the channel in YouTube. It's only 99 cents. Links in the description below. Until my next video, which will be in 2 days on Wednesday, be sure to be back. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.